All right, so we're doing. I've been going over Rabbi Jonathan Sachs' book, Lessons in Leadership from Torah, and this week is Re'eh, and the title of this chapter this week is called Defining Reality. And it was kind of an abstract concept. As I was reading it, I was trying to like comprehend what Rabbi Jonathan Sachs was saying here, because it's not something common that I like read and study about. Defining reality sounds, but he said, like, the good leaders, they tell us where we are and where we are going in a way that no satellite navigation system could tell us. And so essentially he was saying Moshe was telling the children of Israel what will set them apart, what will make them be blessed, and what will curse them. So in the beginning of the parsha, it says, Moshe says, "See, I am setting before you today the blessing and the curse. The blessing if you obey the commands of the Lord your God that I am giving you today. The curse if you disobey the commands of the Lord your God and turn from the way that I command you today by following other gods, which you have not known." And then he also puts it later on. He says, "See, I have set before you today life and good and death and evil. I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you, that I have set before you life and death, the blessing and the curse. Therefore choose life, that you and your children will live." So what he's doing is he's defining reality for the next generation and for all future generations. He wants the children of Israel to choose Hashem and his ways above all other things that are going on. He doesn't want them to follow these other nations, and we have examples. There was all these other nations there. They were going into the land of Canaan, and all we have of them now are just stories in history. They're just little places. Some of them we don't even know much about them because they've been so obscured in history. But then there's this little people that are still going, still alive, and our ways are still alive and fresh, and continuing to adapt to even all the new things that are happening in the world. He also wanted, Moses was also saying, we are not more righteous than others, but it is because of our ancestors. Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Rachel, Leah, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah. And they were the first. The reason why he chose the people is not because of they were greater or better, but because of what the ancestors have done. They heeded the call of Hashem and they followed Hashem, and that is why he continued to choose the people of Israel, because of the ancestors. So he was saying, other nations, they will go through these different stages. They're born, they grow, they flourish, then they become complacent, then corrupt, then divided, then defeated, and then they die. And then they're just in history books and museums. But if we follow, and Moshe said Rabbi Jonathan Sachs is saying that's the curse. The curse is not necessarily that you as an individual will die. We all will die eventually. But he was saying the nation will die if you don't follow Hashem's ways. And so I thought that was interesting. But the alternative is simple. You take God as your sovereign, your leader, your king, your defender, everything. He will do everything for you if you follow his ways. And if you worship him and love him. And he also Rabbi Jonathan Sachs also like to point out that these two words are very common in Deuteronomy, are more common than anywhere else, as of love and joy. So these two words, ahava and smicha. So ahava, it appears twice in Exodus, it appears twice in Leviticus, and not at all in Numbers. but it's 23 times in Deuteronomy. Okay, and the word joy, simcha, appears only once in Genesis, once in Exodus, once in Leviticus, once in Numbers, and it appears 12 times in Deuteronomy. So it's like these themes are much more happening within when Moshe is repeating things. So then he wants to tie this to leadership. How, as leaders, can we define the reality for people that we are leading, whether we're the fathers or mothers of our homes, or leaders of congregations, or leaders of even the country, whatever. So he was giving examples how Neville Chamberlain defined the challenge of the rise of power of Nazi Germany as a search for peace of our time. But then when Churchill came around, he said, it's not right. The real challenge is defense of liberty against tyranny. So you have to see what's going on. I mean, things are always twisted. You have to have. I think if you have eyes of Hashem, if you're looking through the eyes of Hashem or in tune with Hashem, you'll be able to see what's right and what's wrong. And then Lincoln also, he abolished slavery, but he abolished slavery to keep the Union together. He saw beyond just like slaves and not slaves. He saw like this will make our nation greater if we do this. So he was kind of looking more on the betterment of the nation than opposed to just the betterment of individuals, essentially. So after abolition itself was happening, and after the end of the Civil War, he saw it as a victory for the nation as a whole. Let's see what else. So within every family, every community, and every organization, there are trials, tests, and tribulations. Do these lead to arguments, blame, and recrimination, or does the group see them providentially as a route to some future good? A descent that leads to an ascent, as the Lubavitcher Rebbe always used to say. So you can look at a trial that comes into your family or comes into your congregation as something bad, and like you're going to try to blame people, or you can see that it's going to turn it to good. What happened recently with the Pizarros was like, it could have been all of these different ways, right? So Marcos was driving, someone hit him, and you think immediately, oh man, it's terrible. Now they don't have a car, how are they going to get over here? All this stuff. There's all these bad things that could happen, right? And if you look at that and you get really, when it happens, you get really upset at your children or whoever that this thing happened to, even though it's not their fault, there's some thing inside you as a parent, you always kind of blame your child on someone, right? But if you step back, and then look as the picture unfolds more, it became like more of a blessing, right? They were able to kind of fix some things on their car that were already kind of broken, and not only that, but they were able to keep this rental throughout the whole trip, and it was relatively cheap, and in the long run, it probably costs cheaper to bring the rental down here and instead of wear and tear on their own vehicle. So there's like all these blessings that have kind of come out of this kind of curse instead of this bad thing that happened. So I thought that was pretty.
And the youth got a lesson how dangerous it is to drive and to be very careful on the road.
That's right. That's
valuable
right.
lessons.
Valuable lessons always. So who are we? So as leaders, we have to try to look at these things. How can we turn this to good, or how can we use this as a lesson? So something might happen wrong in our family or something. We have to try to learn how to try to turn that into a good thing, a good lesson, or a good moral, or use it to teach morals of that. It's hard. It's a very hard thing. Shem will help you. So to conclude, I'll read this last paragraph here. It says, who are we? Or where are we? What are we trying to achieve? And what kind of people do we aspire to be? These are the questions leaders help the group ask and answer. And when a group does so together, it is blessed with exceptional resilience and strength. So just keep your eyes focused on Hashem and keep the communication open, and things will be great. All right, that's all I have for my little Josh. Marcus has something?
Shalom. I'm Marcus. I'm the guy who. This week's Torah portion begins. Today I'm setting before you a blessing and a curse. And the blessing that you heed the commandments, of God, and the curse is you do not heed the commandments of God. God does not force man to accept the commandments, nor will he stand in a man's way if he chooses not to follow them. The choice is yours. Now, this made me think about the nature of the world that Hashem put us in. And I came to the conclusion that it's not determinism versus free will, it's more like a mix. It's also my conclusion. It's more like a mix. Free will and determinism, free will having the upper hand, of course. For example, you don't pick where you're born or when you're born or what family you're born into. But you're also not born with blacked out lungs from years of chain smoking. But beyond that, why did God make it that way? Why did Hashem give us the potential to disobey him and ignore him? And this is what Rabbi Shneishon had to say about it. Because without such a challenge, of what value would a man's divine service be? If a man was like a robot, naturally and spontaneously doing God's will, could he claim any credit for those efforts? And would they bring any satisfaction to God? And what satisfaction is there in the inevitable? It is precisely when man has an alternative, when he lives in a world where godliness is not open and apparent, and he has personal desires to conflict with Torah decrees, that his choice to serve Hashem is truly virtuous. For a man to serve God under such conditions requires of him to reach deep down to his core and bring about change. Such a service is an achievement, one which brings satisfaction to both men and God. So that's it. Sure, perhaps, ask me any questions.
Anything else? He pressured you.
I got something.
My name's Ari, by the way. There's something this week that stood out to me in the parsha was obviously this week Hashem is telling us that we are his children. And one of the things he says to us as his children is that right after that, there's a whole list of like foods we can eat, animals we're to avoid, and animals we eat. And how we're to not shave our head in certain places, not make cuttings and things like that. So there is this idea that Hashem is our father, and as children of, I don't know how you say it, children of the king, children of our father, like there's a way that we conduct ourselves. So when it affects like what we eat and how we dress and how we look. And so when we go out, we carry ourselves like we're going to be different, we're going to look different, but we need to be different for the right reasons. And those are Hashem's reasons. And they don't always make sense to us. In fact, you can come up with all kinds of reasons like why you should do this, or this meat's healthier, this meat isn't. But the truth is, the Torah doesn't say it. Hashem just says, avoid these meats, avoid these animals, and eat these. Or he says, don't cut yourself, don't cut your hair a certain way. And so we wind up, you can grow parts of your hair out really long. Or you can shave parts, but not to shave certain parts, not to shave certain things, but trim around there, you get all these. It doesn't make sense, really, in a logical sense. But it makes sense to Hashem. And ultimately, it comes down to another thing, is like kind of lined up this week, that daily parsha lined up with a section of the Tanya that also talked about the divine light that is hidden right now, and one that will be revealed. You know, that'll be the time of Mashiach when it's revealed. So there's this, again, like, so this will be revealed to us one day, at the time of Mashiach, but like not now. So now we're obedient where we are. And the other thing too that was interesting was we also talked about blessings that come from Hashem, and they're usually precipitated by a stirring from below. It's a concept in physics that stirring from below causes like a greater stirring from above. Like everything comes down from Hashem. All blessings come down from Hashem. And there's nothing we can do to like, you can say, well, I want to merit this, or I want to merit that, or mess with this or that. But ultimately, Hashem says yes or no, and it comes from him. But he says, if there's a stirring down below, like a little stirring, it causes a greater stirring up in the heavens, and then those blessings can come down. And that little stirring starts with doing the beginnings of yeshiva and turning. So for me, this week it was like interesting to like really focus on the things that they're physical things, like food, what you're wearing, how you wear it, where you cut yourself, don't cut yourself, where you have your hair, whatever. These are like physical things, but they're spiritual things. And they're just the beginning, showing greater blessings. And obviously, these times, I mean, we're looking for Mashiach. So one of the things we want to do is we want to merit Mashiach. We all want parnasa, we all want the refuah, health, sustenance, and we want health, and we want all these things. We want Mashiach. So it begins with a little stirring down below, and then Hashem will reveal that light to us one day.
All right. Khalil, you had anything to share?
Yeah, like a little bit. I mean, this week has been kind of trying for us because, as you probably saw in our chats, that my job, I work for a hospital, but I work at the corporate location. They are mandating the vaccine, and it's like get it or lose your job. I mean, I've tried reasoning on religious exemption, and we'll see how that goes. But I've heard that they're denying a lot of people. So it's been interesting because it's been like, I think for all the people that are going through that, for them, it's kind of like you feel like, wow, like I feel like I'm just waiting to get let go, and so kind of going through this and trying to just hold on to Hashem and cling to joy and just believe that everything's going to be okay. And it kind of really falls in line with this portion that talks about joy in everything you do, and finding the joy in all of that. And so we have these times, it's easier to serve Hashem when everything's good than when things are bad, and right now, exactly what the guy was talking about earlier, this time that's coming up, we've got Elul, which is this time of internalizing, everything, especially from Tish B'Av and everything. But, this time of leading up until Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of judgment. And it is this side of when you come from Tishrei on until Nisan is kind of the stirring from below to above. And then from Nisan, the above to below. And, I really encourage everybody that in this time to really, in this next month, to really try to internalize everything to get things right. Because who knows what the future is going to look like. I mean, we're already seeing some not great things. And, but the big thing is we can't take our focus off Hashem and to keep going forward.
Thank you. All right, so let's get our subject.